Good afternoon. Welcome to the our English um, session. Today is Monday, 26th of April, 2021. We will continue reading the Odysseus that we have started last time. To remind you, the Odysseus was going back after he um, entered Troy and brought it down on its knees, and he gained the victory. Now he is going back home, and because of his brutal and savage way of dealing with people there in Troy, the gods decided to punish him by making him meet a lot of uh, difficulties or challenges in his way home that make him spend 10 years in his journey. We told you that first at the beginning, the first island they stopped on, and there he had, as you can see, they are holding the women. They have enslaved the women, and they plundered all the foods and got to resupply their boat for the adventure. And the army of the island, they fought with them and killed some of them. And here in this picture, they are running away or fleeing away to the ship to start their journey again. In the next stop, they stopped at in another island. It was tropical one, and it has an enchanted plant. It was called the lotus. This plant was spelled or bewitched. So anyone who eats it, he feel lazy and sleepy. And that's what happened to his men, to Odysseus' men. When they eat the lotus, they just fell asleep and they couldn't move. And he wanted them to wake up to start the journey back. So he just tied them and he sent them to the ship and asked him not to eat the lotus again until they sailed away from the island. In the third stop, he stopped on another land, and this is the new story here in the new part. Odysseus lands on the island of the Cyclops and ventures upon a large cave. He went to discover a large cave. They enter into the cave and proceed to feast. Feast means to eat on some food they find there. He found there cheese and milk and some drinks. Unknown to them, they didn't know that this cave is the home of Prometheus, who soon comes upon the trespassers or the intruders, the people who enter his cave without his permission, and trap them in his cave. He came back and he found people inside his cave, so he trapped him. He locked them down. He proceeds to eat several crew members. He starts to eat some of them at each meal. But Odysseus devised or planned a cunning plan for escaping. What was it? To make Prometheus unwary, to make him sleepy, Odysseus gave him a barrel of very strong wine, 3 pounds of wine. When Prometheus asked for Odysseus' name, he told him that it was Otis. It's a Greek word for meaning no man or no one. When the giant fell asleep after drinking all this wine and drunk, Odysseus and his men took 100 spears and destroyed Prometheus' only eye. Prometheus' cries of help were ignored by his fellow Cyclops on the land, because the other Cyclops were living next or nearby him in their caves, and when he cries for them, they were ignored. Actually, they came to him and he asked them, "Why are you shouting like this? And you have wake up us, although no man can blinded you." Those words had been said before by the Cyclops to his fellow Cyclops. He told him before, "I am so strong, I have a lot of force and power. No one can blind me, no one can hurt me, no one can pain me." Okay, when they just to stab his eye in the morning, Odysseus tied his men and himself to the undersides of the Plomus' sheep. Plomus used to have very huge woolly sheep with a lot of wool. So they hide themselves inside the wool, and when the Cyclops let the sheep out to graze, to eat, the men were carried out. They now dropped off and they left the sheep. Since Plomus was blinded, he didn't see the men, but felt the tops of his sheep to make sure the men were not riding them. He just put his hands over their head to make sure that no one was riding any sheep. As he sailed away, this is Odysseus shouted his name, and he declared his own victory. He called him, "O Cyclops," causing the rage or fury or resentment of the Poseidon, one of the gods, who decided to punish him again. What was the punishment that we are going to, when we read, we will discover this. Okay, let's keep this here, and I want you to hold your book, please, in your hand. I have highlighted in the book some lines. I need you to highlight it too. Those lines are enough for you in reading this story or this epic after summarizing it in this way. So at the beginning of the Cyclops, in the next land, we found where Cyclops. He mentioned him with the meaning of Cyclops, plural from Cyclops, and race of giants with one eye in the middle of the forehead. Lutes means idiots. They were lutes means idiot, without a law to please them. No law controlled them. Cyclops have no master along no meeting. Master means crowd. They don't have any kind of crowd when they meet. No consultation or all the tribal ways. Discussion, they don't discuss, but each one dwells or lives in his own mountain cave, dealing out rough justice to wife and child, indifferent to what the others do. He was just dealing with his wife and his child in a rough justice way. As we rode on, they kept rowing, we saw a cave, yawning above the water. Here we have personification, where he personified or give the cavern or the cave the person qualification that he can yawn above the water. And many rams and goats about the place inside the sheepfold. They saw there many goats and rams, but they didn't know for whom bought that. A prodigious man slept in this cave alone. Prodigious means enormous, very huge, and he slept alone in this cave. And took his folks to graze a field, eat, remote from all companions, away from all the companions, knowing none but savage ways, a brute so huge. He was so savage, so brutal. He seemed no man at all of those to see. Yes, he seemed no man at all of those who eat good wheaten bread, but he seemed rather a shaggy mountain reared in solitude. Shaggy, hairy, and reared means raised, the same color. Solitude means isolation. He was just a hairy mountain that was raised in isolation, away from any other thing. We pitched there, and I told the crew to stand by and keep watch over the ship. They sailed there, and some of the crew stayed in the ship to watch, and the other went with him. I had a goat skin full of that sweet liquor. He had he had a sweet liquor. It was actually a wine. He brought it with him. He started to talk about the cycle that he was ignorant of civility. The cycle was ignorant of civility. What's the meaning of civility thing? Civility means politeness and respectful behavior. Politeness and respectful behavior. We're supposed to create a map in your copy book or on the margin here. In this map, I need you to write them. It will look like this. Yes, here, like this map. We're going to write the word here, which is civility, definition, synonym, example. Other form of the root word, no need, just the 3 parts. What is the definition of civility? Definition means polite and respectful behavior. Polite and respectful behavior. Synonym, politeness. Enough. This one is enough. Politeness is enough. Politeness. Example, my grandmother always treat her house guests with great activity. Okay, enough for us to write this part. Example, this one. Okay, we'll write the synonym, politeness, and the definition. No need for the others. Okay, let's go back to the rest of the text. We climbed then briskly to the cave. They climbed to the cave, but Cyclops had gone afield to pasture his fat sheep graze. He kept mentioning that his sheep was woolly, was fat, the Huygens. So we looked around at everything inside the cave. He found the cheese pens crowded with lambs and kids, each in its class. He was separating them, each in its class. I wished to see the caveman, what he had to offer. He wanted to see the caveman, how does he look like, what he can offer for them. Next page. 176. When he came, he mean the Cyclops, he had a load of dry boughs. The boughs are 3 branches, like in the picture. You can find this in the picture, the other page. On his shoulder, to stoke his fire at supper time, he dumped it with a great crash into that hollow cave, and we all scattered fast to the far wall. So here he used the word to describe the way of escaping, which is the scatter. So it shows how Odysseus and his men moved away from the Cyclops. It evokes an image of a panic, how panicked they were as in insects exactly when they distract. Odysseus is drawing a story comparison between the size and power of both the Cyclops and them, and how are they so insignificant comparing to the Cyclops himself. When all these cords were down, he poked the fire heaping on brushwood in the glen he saw us. So there was something like lighting up, so they saw the men or others and his fellow. Strangers, he said, who are you and where are you from? What brings you here by seaways? We felt a pressure on our heart that shows how scary were they. but all the same I spoke up in reply. He want to speak to them in a way of replying. We are from Troy. He started to tell him where they are from. We served under Agnon. If you remember, Agnon was brother of the king of Sparta. The whole world knows what city he laid waste and what armies he destroyed. It was our luck to come here. Here we stand, beholden for your help or any gifts that you give. As custom is to honor strangers, great sir, have a care, for the gods Zeus will avenge the unoffending guest. So he is like threatening him that Zeus is greatest god. He is going to punish or avenge or revenge from the one who will offend the guest. What do you think was the Cyclops' reaction?